Hello, friends, and welcome to Coach Cut's Corner. Streaming bright from Michigan's capital city, this podcast is dedicated to helping you better understand the who, the what, and the why of mental performance, personal growth, and Lansing Stars baseball. Coach Cut's Corner, brought to you by Eyewash.
In collaboration with Lansing Community College.
And now here's your host, Stephen Cutter.
Welcome back to Coach Cut's Corner. I'm joined in studio this morning with Coach Boyer. Elijah, how we doing this morning?
Doing good.
It's solid to hear. Today we're going to talk about sleep schedules, fall season wrapping up as we're getting there, and we just had Zach Sorensen fly into Lansing, mental performance coach for the Braves, author of the Hard 90. He works with the Stars, and so we'll kind of go over some of the stuff that he brought to the town. So what time do you get up in the morning, typically?
Well,
on average.
I'd say it's usually between 7:30 and 9.
Yeah.
For sure. Like if I had nothing to do, but since we're going five days a week with weights, now it's six every day.
How much of an adjustment was that for you?
Not a big one. I used to go get workouts in before I'd go to do. Before this, when I was doing engineering. That's my day would always start at 8.
Yeah.
The 9 to 5 life. So I would always wake up to work out before that, or otherwise I'd have a awful day because I'd just be sitting all day.
That's interesting. I know you've been around as I've been teaching our players about, if you want to change your sleep schedule and you want to start getting up earlier, and you're normally getting up at say 6:30, start getting up 15 minutes earlier and do that for 30 days, and then your body just can't tell that 15 minutes, and then the next month you set it for 15 minutes earlier, and you just keep stacking that. Pretty soon you're getting up pretty early. I've done the exact opposite of that. I've most of my life I've been, more on a sports schedule where sports are played in the afternoon or evenings, and stay up really, really late working, and everybody's for the most part sleeping at that point. But I feel like I could just naturally get a lot of separation doing that, and then I just started thinking about how can you get better, and I flip my schedule, without doing any 15 minutes per month, or and then kind of what I was teaching, and have went the exact opposite, and now I'm getting up somewhere around 2 a.m. in the morning to 2:30 in the morning, and there's something to be said about that, because we talk a lot about winning in our program, and it's hard to not feel like you're winning when you're up at that time of the morning, and you're rolling with your day. We're recording this somewhere around noon at this point, and I'm 9 hours in. There's something to winning at that point, and so it's been somewhat crazy, some definitely different for my family as well. But where I was, it's staying up super late, and now I'm typically trying to get to bed by 9 or 10. So a complete flip, but I feel like you're definitely getting some more performance out of that. So.
Yeah.
And I think you've probably experienced it to some degree, where you hear like a lot of high performance or success stories about people that get up in the morning. You almost get it preached to you, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think it's funny because like a lot of times there's people who will say it's really bad to do what you're doing, and like the health part of it's true, right? I mean, we know that getting not a lot of sleep is not great for us, but like you said, you have a family, what you're doing. So just your case alone is like, what would you do to be successful, to get to the next step? Like you don't have a lot of choices, like we were talking about, and sometimes you just have to sacrifice some sleep, and you have to wake up earlier. And it's funny because people kind of bash like, oh, you don't have to wake up in the morning to lift, to get a good lift. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But how often do you not get a lift in if you don't do it first thing in the morning? Yeah. Because you have all these other things you need to do. So there's just a balance to it all. And
I'm not a big fan of that word balance. But that being said, I know my wife was even talking to me about, how important it is to get 8 hours plus sleep. But if you think about that, that's if you get that, you're going to sleep a third of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 30-year day, and that's a 30-year life if you do that. So I mean, time is precious. So
Yeah.
I'll roll a little bit, and getting up that early. I was watching something a couple of months ago with the football coach with the Dolphins. What's his name?
Oh man, I know exactly what he looks like.
Or
Yeah.
Looks like an engineer. And he was talking about how he had to be in when he was working for another NFL team, and he had to be in at 6 a.m. and the coach would be calling his office phone at 6 a.m. for a check to make sure he was in. And he said like he was missing. He'd miss him, And he ended up getting fired. I don't believe it was so much because he was missing the 6 a.m., but it was kind of like the stuff we talk about in our program where you're stacking bricks, and you're either stacking really good stuff or you're stacking things that aren't very good. And he ends up getting fired. And like I said, I don't think it was because he wasn't in it. He got in at 6:05 versus 6. But now he gets to Miami Stadium, and ESPN did like a documentary on him or something that I was watching, and he's rolling in there at like 3 a.m. every day, and that's where he gets started, and he's hitting the ground running, and so I think some of that stuff fed into mine and my flip too, and we've shown stuff, military stuff, and they say you got to be really careful when you start messing with people's schedules. Like you can get in some serious dangers with people if you start flipping their schedules. Think about people that have go long durations without sleeping or things like that. That's not good stuff. So anyways, so with the sleep schedules, just kind of want to cover that and say like, for somebody that has spent most of my entire life being a person that did not like getting up early in the mornings, might even say things like I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm not very productive in the morning, all those things too. I'm much more in flow at 7 p.m. or midnight or whatever it might be, to just flipping it all and rolling at 2. We're going to get into Zach being here in town, but Zach I picked him up from his hotel this morning to take him to the airport, and I picked him up at 4:40 this morning, to take him to the airport. Mm-hmm. Normally my old schedule, I would have been trying to find an Uber for him or see if you wanted to do it, or but yeah, it was no problem. So it's pretty crazy, and just really proof I've shown to myself that you can make changes, and you can make significant changes even when you believe like that you're not a morning person, or that you don't function well. It's crazy. Fall season, we're getting close to wrapping up. We're that time of year. We're near Halloween at this point.
It is
Halloween. What's been your take on fall season as we're getting ready to transition into not only different weather,
mm-hmm.
It's getting colder and there's snowflakes and things like that, and then just transitioning into where we don't have inter squads, we don't have scrimmages, we got something that we call separation season. And what's been your take of the fall so far?
Fall so far has been a lot of me getting adjusted to the whole college coaching, being the first year, learning, getting used to the way that we do things. So I feel like that's been a majority of it. I'm pretty sad to see the fall go though, because I'm gonna miss being outside. I like everything about being outside, but I know that going inside is very necessary for the development, because we could just get so much more done with with our hitters and pitchers. But there's certain aspect of being outside though that I'm gonna miss. So not looking forward to that, but looking forward to getting better inside.
Yeah, I was just while you were talking, I was pulling up our practice plan for today for the offensive side of the practice plan, and I think you kind of sell yourself short a little bit as we talk about data collection and sensors connecting and what machine and what distance and at what miles per hour it's going to be, and who's loading the machine, and whether it's from the left side or the right side, and who's collecting batted ball metrics, and and biomechanical, and I see you even got me in there doing some KVAS stuff. So, yeah, I think you're selling yourself short. That's what success looks like, and that's really what development looks like too. It's not a cookie cutter system. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's stuff that you're very intentional about, and you're just working on helping people find that best version of themselves, or at least attempt to try to find the best version of themselves. And you're doing a heck of a job. And the fall season has been a ton of learning for all of us. It's not just you. We're constantly learning, constantly trying to get better. And we've got 25, 26 freshmen on the team, and you know, fresh out of high school, and so you're constantly teaching and reinforcing, and then teaching again and reinforcing, and hoping that some things start sticking. And we've seen that. I really feel like the team from August 10th when we started it, if you took a snapshot, which we did in a lot of different ways, and maybe I can hit on a couple of those too in here in a minute, but take a snapshot on August 10th and then take another snapshot in October, mid-October, and you're like, this team looks significantly different. We use our strength and conditioning, our nutrition, all those things are vital to development. And we have we've got multiple in-body machines here on campus, and in-body reports are due, I think, in a couple days, and some of the players are handing them in early, which success leaves clues. The guys that are getting them in a couple days early, that's great. And we've got a freshman that's, leave him nameless, but a freshman that just turned his in, and he's gained 13 pounds since we measured him on August 10th. And so the average person would be like, oh, okay, well, 12 of those pounds is muscle. But it's incredible. But that's sleep schedules or anything else. If you're intentional about what you want to do, you can do some incredible stuff. And I think you can tell by looking at them, but you just can't tell how incredible it has been, because I've noticed it. And if I brought up his name, I'm sure you would say, yeah, I agree.
He's an outfielder.
I've noticed it as well. Yeah, he's an outfielder.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think he's growing taller too.
Yeah. Well, that can happen.
I think he's just getting bigger all around.
Yeah. So just a lot of those stories, Greg and I were talking about it earlier this morning. A lot of those stories just don't end up getting told. You just don't see them. They're not on social media or anything else. But there's some really, really cool stories. And speaking of stories, I think that I'm hearing word that there's going to be a documentary made about the Stars baseball team and Coach Cut. So that's coming down the line, and I think they're going to be following us this season. So it's kind of huge news. So yeah, it's official. So Zach Sorensen, I mentioned that I was taking him to the airport at 4:45 this morning. He had an early flight. He flew into Lansing a couple days ago. Picked him up from the airport, and then brought him to his hotel, and then got him checked in, and then brought him to, trying to think where we went after that. I think we went to, we came to campus, and he spent the afternoon on campus with the Stars and in kind of a classroom setting. And Zach is the mental performance coach for the Atlanta Braves, and he does a lot of stuff with Brian Kane. And he's kind of Brian's right-hand man in a lot of different things, including hikes and crazy stuff too. But Zach had he's got some really good experience in baseball, was a professional baseball player, had some of that experience, played in the College World Series with Wichita State, back in the day. So he's been to Omaha, and he just brings a wealth of knowledge. And so pretty incredible that he's flying into Lansing to work with the Stars team. Oh, yeah. And, it was nice to really be able to spend quite a bit of one-on-one time with him and just talk about just normal family stuff. His family and my family lines up, with a lot of different things. And he makes his home in Utah. And what'd you kind of take away in the amount of time that you had? Because a lot of this stuff that we bring up, whether it's in leadership or other places, might not be completely out in left field, but some of it is new, right?
Yeah. The biggest takeaway, I couldn't even put it down to one necessarily thing, but it was the fact that when you talk about mental performance, like a lot of times we're talking, you just get told like you got to be tough, right? And then people don't really give you like a way to go about that. And so the biggest thing I took away was he just gave tons of little snippets of ways that guys could pick up. Like I think there were probably more than 10 ways that you could like judge yourself on the field and bring yourself back to a place where you're competing well. He talked about the controlled intensity scale, which, you know, like whatever level you play best at and getting back to it all the time. The red light, yellow light, green light. I like that one. When things are going out of control or starting to, you know, you're in this yellow light mode. And I could just keep going, but he basically just kept giving ways for you to not only slow the game down, but ways that you could easily remember through these like simple little 2-3 minute tactics.
Yeah,
and like
really
routines,
tools and processes.
tons of tools. And so I think guys probably at least picked up one, and that's what I really liked, because no way every guy picked up everything, but I know that they'll remember one, and I think they'll use it at some point.
Yeah, and he'll be back. He'll fly back in for our first pitch dinner. So our second annual first pitch dinner is coming up in January, and that's going to be another huge thing. So he'll fly back in for that. He'll be our keynote speaker, and he'll be back around for a couple days. And then once our season gets going, he'll fly in for a few days and be around the team too. So we'll see him quite a bit this year, and we're extremely fortunate to have that kind of stuff. We still have Brian Kane involved with our program too, and we're just extremely blessed for a JUCO to have the things that we have, and it certainly is humbling at times. I know as we were driving around Lansing a little bit and going out to lunch and stuff, I was thinking about, you know, it's pretty impressive having these people come into our program and be willing to work with our players. So pretty cool. And you know, the mental performance stuff is not smoke and mirrors. I think if anything, that's some of the stuff that I've heard, you know, as we continue to have a lot of success, is it's smoke and mirrors and don't know anything about the game of baseball and, you know, all that stuff. The mental performance piece is, you know, I think Zach said it best. It's 90% of the game, and it's practiced, you know, the least out of anything. So it's a big piece of the game, and it's a big piece to not only the game but life, how you respond to stuff, you know. And a lot of times things are not gonna go your way, and you've got to be able to respond. And it can be as simple as driving your car into work in the morning. You know, it can be a lot of different things. And you know, I kind of go to, I picked up with spending time with Brian Kane, was something bad happens, you say good. And he's and that's where that's where it came from. It's just good, you know, and it just changes your mindset, even though whatever's happening at that time isn't real good, but it's kind of like good.
That's why I say Roger that.
Because something, if you journal and you document stuff, you'll see that no matter what happens to you, something good will come from that. It might not be that second, might not be that day, but at some point something good is going to come from that. And so you're just kind of saying, good, let's roll. You know, we'll figure it out. So, yeah, I think just kind of circling back a little bit, you know, whether it's with mental performance, changing your sleep schedule, learning new things, or continuing to grow. For the most part, anything's possible, and when you're around contagious proximity of others, you can just start growing, you know, exponentially. And it's kind of what we try to do with our players too. And you know, we kind of touched on that a little bit, how much you see them change in just you know 3 months. And it's not just physically, because physically they are, but mentally, and with the hope that maybe down the road they'll use it, and maybe that will be this month, maybe it'll be in May or June, and maybe it'll be in 5 years, but some point they're going to fall back on it. Anything else to add on that?
No, I did want to touch a little bit on the contagious proximity. I'm sure people who listen to this know what it is, but I'll just use myself as an example. If I would have went into a program with my first year and I would have had a head coach. I saw working underneath a head coach who was just went out there, just had a normal practice, just kind of rolled the balls out there. Like, hey, let's just hit some fungo. Let's practice for 2 hours and let's get off the field. It's just fall ball. It's just fall ball. If I would have had that, even with what I know about development, I would have gotten worse. Because like if all I was around was people who were okay with being good enough, it would have been hard for me to get better. But when you got your HC waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning and you feel like he's kicking your butt, it makes me want to do that much more. So hopefully you'll get to the point though where I start making you better at some point.
I think that anybody that's trying to get better in their life makes not only me better but makes everybody else better. And you're certainly there. And we've got a staff that's like that, and we've got a lot of players that are like that too, and that's why we have terms like uncommon, and that's where it comes from. So appreciate having you on this morning. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for joining us in the WLNZ studios. Stay humble, stay hungry, go Stars.
Coach Cut's Corner is recorded live in the WLNZ studios. Engineering and production assistance are provided by Dedalian Lowry. Thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it and follow us on all the platforms of social media. You can find more about our program at lccstars.com, and donations to our baseball program can be made at the same site. See you next time.